Let's talk about Lisa Cook. Many of you probably already know the president just tried to fire one of the top leaders of the Federal Reserve, but now she's in court asking a judge for an emergency order to stop him. So please double tap to support and watch to the end. And I think one reason you want to watch to the end in particular is I think the Supreme Court's already signaled that the Fed is different from other agencies. And that's why this case of Lisa Cook may have the strongest case yet of anyone challenging a firing from Trump. So let's start at square one. What is the Federal Reserve? Well, it's America's central bank, right? It controls interest rates, the rates that decide how much you pay on your mortgage, your car loan, or your credit card. If rates are kept too low, inflation explodes and everything costs way, way more, and sometimes really quickly. If the rates are too high, the economy slows and jobs get cut. That's why the Fed is supposed to be independent. So no one president can just crank the rates down to score political points in an election year at the expense of our economy. So who makes these decisions? Well, there's a small group of officials called Federal Reserve governors. There are only 7 of them in the country. Each one is confirmed by the Senate to a 14-year term. That long-term guarantee is there for a reason. They're supposed to be referees for the economy, calling the game fairly even when the call is unpopular. Lisa Cook is one of those governors. In fact, she was the first Black woman to ever serve. And by law, she can only be removed for cause. That means real misconduct tied to her official duties, like corruption or neglect of duty. But here's what happened. President Trump announced on Truth Social that he was firing her. His so-called cause? An unproven allegation from one of his allies that she might have made a mistake on a mortgage form years before she even joined the Fed. No charges, no proof, nothing connected to her work, something that is usually not a big deal. So she sued. And here's the key. She's also asking for an emergency temporary restraining order, a TRO, to block the firing immediately. Why? Because if Trump's claim is allowed to stand even for a day, she loses her seat, he fills it, and the Fed's independence is broken. That's what he's really trying to do. Her legal argument, I think, is straightforward. First, the Federal Reserve Act doesn't let presidents redefine cause whenever they want. Second, she has a statutory and constitutional right to notice at a hearing, and she got neither. And third, without a TRO, the damage is permanent. Her Senate-confirmed position vanishes, the Fed's independence crumbles, and markets already showed sign of instability the moment Trump claimed he fired her. For federal employees, this hits close to home. The fear of political retaliation, being pushed out not because you did something wrong, but because you actually did your job, is real. Cook's case is the test of whether Congress's protections for independent service mean anything. And this isn't just about Lisa Cook. It's about whether independence in federal service still exists or whether politics now decides who gets to stay, who has to go. So I asked you to watch to the end because I wanted to tease a little bit the Supreme Court tidbit I promised. So earlier this year in Trump versus Wilcox, which we covered, the court went out of its way to say that the Federal Reserve System is unique, structurally different from other agencies, and that its removal protections are especially important. So I think that makes Cook's case stronger than almost anyone else who challenged a presidential firing. So what do you guys think will happen? Let me know in the comments, and we'll, of course, keep following this important case. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I think Lisa Cook has the strongest argument against presidential power, even from a Supreme Court that's pro-Trump. And I think it probably has a huge significance to the economy of our country. So we'll follow this closely. Thank you, everybody, for support. Take care and have a good day.